All right, fellas, let's end the debate right here, right now. I know a lot of people say, hey, you can eat whatever you want to. Doesn't matter what you eat as long as you're in a deficit. I know a lot of people say that shit, right? They don't live by that shit. I'm going to explain to you exactly why it's important to not eat a bunch of junk and goofy shit in your deficit and why it's actually more important when you're in a deficit to eat whole foods. All right. This is going to explain exactly why a lot of you guys, you're in a deficit, you're tracking calories. You might have been throwing in some candy here, some chips there, and you felt like shit. You didn't feel satiated. You felt tired all the time, and you were like, yeah, man, calorie deficits aren't sustainable. It's the way you approached it, right? You eating unhealthy, you eating all that bullshit makes it less likely that you're going to stay in that deficit. By the way, meal plans, workout plans are in the bio. One-on-one coaching is also in the description. Let's get right into the video, guys. All right, so this calorie in, calorie out obsession that I be talking about, bro. Like when you're eating these quality foods, you'll feel the difference because the nutrients, your body needs the fucking nutrients. When you eat like chips and stuff like that, there's no nutrients in those chips. That's why you feel tired even though your calorie intake is high. Like, why am I eating so much food but I don't have energy? Because your body's losing all its nutrients, breaking down that shit, right? So a lot of people lose weight, right? Eating junk food, and you feel awful. There is also a lot of people out there who are like skinny fat and they're like, yeah, man, like I'm lean. Like, what do I do? What do I do? It starts with what you're eating. The way you get skinny fat is by eating junk food, right? But not enough of it to get like super fat. But you're not eating enough quality foods, protein to have muscle mass, and you're not working out, so you're just skinny fat. All right, that's what skinny fat is. That's what kind of medium fat is. That's what makes you look like a bag of milk, right? Like a sack of shit. Like a lot of people just look like, a lot of people are shaped like colostomy bags or like, milk bags and shit like that. You see what I'm saying? And it's because what they're eating on a daily basis. They look like fucking marshmallows. All right. If you want to have a better body composition, you want to feel better, you want to have more mental clarity, lock in on nutrition. I know everyone here who's locked in on nutrition, you realize yourself, you're like, damn, I just feel better. And I don't know, man, I just have more energy throughout the day. Yeah, because you have the vitamins and minerals. I know they say this shit all the time about vitamins and minerals. It is important to make sure you're intaking all that stuff. All right. And it comes from like this right here. You eat this shit every day, bro, you be straight. You have some avocado, got some chicken breast in that bitch, you got some eggs, some bacon, you be straight. But most people don't eat like that, all right? Most people are eating chips, most people are drinking liquor, and all that stuff is stripping nutrients out of your body just to break it down and get rid of it. You see what I'm saying? You're literally poisoning your body on a daily basis, all right? So I'm gonna break it down. We're gonna talk about hormones, body composition, mental health, cravings, all that stuff, how cravings work, just so you can have a better idea and you can really think about like, okay, you failed on deficits multiple times. Why have you failed? It's the way you approach it. All right. Besides being too extreme, a lot of people just try to fill it in with whatever. They just try to fill in their calories with whatever. All right. So obviously, a calorie deficit is when you eat less than you burn, right? Or you burn more than you eat. Simple shit, right? You're gonna lose weight when you're in a deficit, but weight loss and fat loss are not the same. Like I always say, if your goals are aesthetics and sustainability, what you're consuming on a daily basis, the quality of it matters. All right. Quantity is calorie deficit, but the quality matters as well. All right. Now, what happens when you eat the goofy shit? All right, guys, let's get into it. So, ultra processed foods, they're gonna have low satiety, like I said earlier. Like chips have no fiber, they have no protein, and they have no nutrients. So it's gonna cause inflammation, and like I said, they have no nutrients in them. So you're not getting anything back. Your body uses calories, it uses vitamins and minerals to break down foods. So when you're breaking down foods with no vitamins or minerals in it, you're not getting anything back. All right. So you're literally just like dying basically because you're not getting anything back. Like a processed meal versus whole meal, same calories, very different impact. An example of that would be like I said, a bag of chips. A bag of chips, like a family size, because people go through family size bag of chips pretty easily. It's like let's just go through a regular bag of chips. Regular bag of chips is probably like 1,000 calories, right? If you were to replace that bag of chips, right, because that's not gonna fill you up because there's no fiber, there's no protein. If you replace that bag of chips with a sweet potato, some broccoli, and some steak, right, 6 ounces of sirloin, 6 ounce sweet potato, and some broccoli, that's like half the calories of the bag of chips, but it'll fill you up more because there's micronutrients, macronutrients, obviously high protein, and there's a lot of fiber in there as well in the broccoli and the sweet potatoes. All right, very simple. Now, all these energy crashes, these blood sugar spikes that you have, the mood swings, the cravings, all that stuff is generally from what you're eating anyways. Because if you eat less of bad foods, right, it's just going to make you hungrier, obviously, because there's no satiety in it. But when you're eating more voluminous foods, more quality foods, even though you're eating less of it, you're going to feel more full. Simple. Now, One serving of chips is like 11 chips. Two servings of Skittles is like 20 Skittles. And obviously, if you get like a thing of cupcakes, one serving is one cupcake, right? Nobody eats 11 chips. If you open a bag of chips, who the fuck eats 11? They're like, oh, there we go. I'm good. I feel full. That was great. That was great, man. Those 11 chips, they satisfied me. No. It gives you a dopamine hit, and then you're chasing dopamine hits, right? And it's hyper palatable, so now you want more. So now, you're like, yeah, let me just eat a few more. I'm not trying to get too fat. And then you eat the whole bag because you're watching a Netflix show or something like that, right? That's very, very, very common. So be wary of that and realize don't surround yourself with those foods if it's not going to take you towards your goals. Very simple. Chips, cupcakes, Skittles, processed, ultra processed foods, they're all identified as goofy shit, all right? Next, your hormones are not calorie calculators, all right? So, hormones matter, all right? But I'm not talking about I'm not being dramatic like TikTok because they be on some dramatic shit. To be honest, they be like, oh my God, like I can't lose weight because my hormones and, they're not in a fucking deficit. That's why they're fat as shit. It's not that deep. Anyways, when you are eating, junk food, low fiber foods that constantly spike your insulin, that's going to give you some insulin resistance over time, but over a long period of time, obviously, right? And that's going to stress out your pancreas. Now, the issue is a lot of these foods are low nutrient, like I said, low volume, and they're going to decrease your satiety and they're going to increase your hunger. All right, you're going to feel hungrier even though you're technically eating more calories, but your body doesn't realize that. Your body's like, okay, I'm getting all these dopamine hits. Okay, I'm not getting any nutrients, any fiber, any protein. So your body's like, I must not be eating enough. So then you just start overeating, chasing these dopamine hits. Because the way these dopamine hits work is very similar to the way sugar works in general. A lot of people are addicted to sugar. It's the number one addiction out there, above alcohol, above everything else. But the way sugar works is very similar to alcohol, is very similar to opiates and all that stuff because you get addicted to the feeling. Like, why do people eat Skittles or cupcakes? You can't tell me it's for nutritional value. It's literally for taste, for dopamine hits. They're like, I just need that sugar rush, right? They get addicted to that feeling. All right. Now another thing is cortisol. When you have highly processed foods, right, it's going to elevate your cortisol levels and it's going to interfere with your thyroid hormones, your sleep, and even muscle retention. All right. So this is like more long-term shit. That's why, like I said, people say stuff like you can eat whatever you want to as long as you're deficit, but they don't do that shit. All right. Because when they try to, they fail every time because they're going in yo-yo, cycles because they can't sustain it because cortisol levels are high, satiety is super low. Imagine being in a deficit with satiety super low, your libido is absolutely low. And obviously if you're super lean, like set like your first time being between 6 to 10% body fat, then you're gonna have some of these symptoms temporarily until you go back to maintenance. But if you're like 20% body fat and you're feeling low libido, you feel me? You're feeling super tired all the time, fatigued, and hungry all the time. That's because you're not eating enough quality foods. All right. And your calories might be too low, but you're not eating enough quality food. So when you replace all that junk that you're eating with quality foods, you're actually going to feel more full. The diet will be more sustainable. That's why every time someone starts on my plan, they're like, hey man, like every single client, like this literally always happens. They're like, hey, I feel like I'm eating too much, bro. Like I shouldn't be eating this much. I'm like, bro, the reason you feel like you're eating a lot because there's a lot of protein, there's a lot of fiber. You've never ate this many nutrients before, blah, blah, blah. I said this literally every time, every time, literally past 10 years being a trainer. It's like, listen, I know you feel, more full because it's fiber. Because before their diets are always like super low in fiber. Their diets are always super high in processed foods. They're always chasing dopamine hits and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They've never really ate whole foods, high fiber, high protein. So when they start eating high fiber and high protein, they're like, damn, I can't even hit 2,100 calories. And Luther got me on 2,500 calories. You see what I'm saying? Versus when they're eating the McDonald's and stuff in one sitting, they have 3,000 calories. So it's very, very important to make sure that you have, you know, all the nutrients that you need in your diet and you're actually eating whole foods. You're not eating goofy shit. Now, your testosterone levels will go down if your diet is super low in fats, especially healthy fats. I know people have this misconception that, I can only eat egg whites. If you're stepping on stage and you're running out of calories and you're only trying to look good for one day, go ahead and only do only do egg whites or whatever. But most of you guys are more than 20% body fat, which means you just have a fuckload of fat. So you do not need to be cutting down on the eggs. All right. The eggs have healthy fats. Those healthy fats will keep your testosterone high, your energy high, your muscle retention high as well. Right. So make sure you're getting vitamin B, zinc, and all that shit. All right. It's very, very, very important. Now, like I said earlier, the way your body processes foods, when you eat unhealthy foods, processed foods, right, your body literally loses essential nutrients, right, because it has to work to break them down, obviously. And when you eat healthy food, your body also loses essential nutrients. Now, the positive for healthy food is that what you're eating has good nutrients in it. So when you eat the healthy foods, your body is processing those foods, but it's using vitamins and minerals to process foods, but it's also getting them back, right? So it's a given, it's a good relationship, right? However, unhealthy foods, you're literally stripping your body of nutrients because your body's using nutrients to break it down and not getting any nutrients back. All right, that's why a lot of people, they get deficiencies, they get fatigue and all that shit. Like if you constantly are eating unhealthy foods, you're going to feel tired, even though you're eating a lot of calories, or even though you're eating enough calories, you're still going to be tired because you're going to have all these vitamin deficiencies, vitamin B deficiencies, iron deficiencies, magnesium deficiencies. So all that's going to affect your energy. It's going to affect your oxygen as well. That's why I always say, like, you can run on the treadmill all day, but if you eat like shit, you know what I mean, your cholesterol could still be high. Simple, 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 simple. All right. So it's very, very important that you stay away from all these junk foods with refined sugars, trans fats, artificial additives, all that shit. You know what I mean? Now, I will say that as far as protein bars and protein shakes, I know some people say, "Oh my God, those don't eat those, don't drink those." Those are fine, but that's just my opinion. There's nothing wrong with them. They're high in protein. They keep you full. They keep you satiated between meals. Unless you're talking about like a Meta RX bar or something like that that you eat while you're bulking, that's not the best for cutting because it's super high in sugar. All right. A lot of you guys deal with this problem. You guys lose weight and you look the fucking same. Like you're like, oh, I lost 30 pounds. And I'm like, okay, oh, that's awesome. How much body fat do you lose? Like, I don't know, but I kind of look the same. Okay, well, that's because you're focused on weight loss, not fat loss. Remember what I always say, weight loss and fat loss are not the same fucking thing. All right. You can lose a lot of muscle when you're not getting the nutrients you need. Like I said earlier, muscle retention is directly correlated with obviously protein intake, but also the vitamins and minerals that you're eating. If you're not eating enough healthy cholesterol, if you're not eating enough vitamins and minerals in general, your muscle retention is going to go down and you might lose some muscle in the process, and you're going to have like a puffy or skinny fat appearance, right? So yeah, you lost 20 pounds, but you look shitty, you still have acne, and you just look like a smaller version of your former self, right? So if you were 200 and now you're 180, you just look like a 180 pound version of your 200 pound self, right? So you got to make sure that you focus on fat loss. How do you focus on fat loss? You eat high protein, you eat high quality foods, you focus on your waist size and your body fat percentage, not just your weight. Your weight can go up and down. Matter of fact, your weight can stay the same for like 12 weeks and the whole time you were just losing fat and gaining muscle. You see what I'm saying? Like you've never lifted before, right? And you start lifting and eating in a slight deficit. And for the next 12 weeks, your weight might go up and down, and then it might end up at the same spot, or it might even go up. But guess what? You gain muscle and you lost fat. So that means your body fat percentage is going to go down, and your body composition is going to look better. All right. Here's another thing. Your physical energy and your performance when you eat like shit. All right. Now, obviously, if you're someone who eats pretty good, and then, you have like this one cheat day or something like that, once in a while, like the lean people watching this, you guys already know, like you'll be fine. I'm talking about people who generally always eat like shit, like literally always eat like shit. Your performance in the gym is gonna be ass. You can't recover. You know what I mean? You're not eating enough protein. You don't have energy. You're not getting the proper oxygen transport because you're not eating enough iron, right? So you're gonna have poor performance. And when you have poor performance, you lift less weights. And when you lift less weights, you lose more muscle. So all these little things matter. All of this goes hand in hand with aesthetics. That's why I say to people, just eat whole foods. You'll knock out all these issues. You don't even have to think about this shit. When people try to complicate fitness and they're like, no, I'm going to feel whatever in my macros. Now they have to deal with all these issues. All right. Like I said, less muscle retention, poor gym performance. You're going to be lifting way less, right? When I cut, I usually maintain majority of my strength. Some things I go up in weight, but I usually maintain majority of my strength because I'm eating quality shit. All right. So for those of you who are like, it's month 2 and I already lost, like 30 pounds on my bench press or something like that. I'm like, dude, that's fucking horrible. Like you must be vegan or some shit. Like there's no way you're eating any protein. It's like if you're eating quality protein, you're getting all your vitamins and minerals, your bench should stay the same or go up in the first 2 months. After like 6 months and you lost like 50 pounds, yeah, less mass is going to move less mass, but the ratio of weight that you move is going to be more than it was at the beginning. You feel me? All right. Calories are not nutrients, all right? So if you have a certain amount of calories and you're like, okay, I'm gonna hit these calories, you also have to, yes, you have to track your macronutrients, but you also want to track at least some micronutrients, right? Like the most important ones are right here. If you eat whole foods, like I said, you knock all this shit out so you don't even have to think about this shit. Like you literally don't have to think about any of this shit if you just eat whole foods, all right? Calorie deficit is less food. like I said in the beginning, which means you need more quality sources because you have less opportunities and less food to get nutrients from. So you have to eat super high quality foods. All right. So iron, like I said earlier, supports oxygen transport, energy. Deficiencies are going to make you feel super tired, weak, fatigued, literally like shit, right? And then calcium, obviously, muscle contraction, all that shit. Magnesium is like one of the most important ones. Relaxation, sleep, nerve function, blood sugar regulation, all that shit, which could affect your cravings as well. All right. And then B vitamins, you got to get that shit too. Listen, the reason I be eating bread and shit because it has some vitamin B in it. I know a lot of you guys don't believe in bread for some reason, even though you're fat as shit. Like it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's why I eat a decent amount of bread. Now, here are the reasons you actually binge. Like I said earlier, sugar is the most addictive thing on this planet. All right, most people are addicted to sugar. Yes, some people are addicted to alcohol and heroin and all this other stuff. Some people are addicted to corn or whatever, but most people are addicted to sugar because you got to realize if anyone has type 2 diabetes, right, that's self-inflicted, like that, yeah, if anyone has type 2 diabetes, it's because they overate sugar. That's basically what it is. All right. And they couldn't stop doing that. That means they're addicted because once you do something that's a detriment to your health and you can't control it, that's addiction. It's not that deep. All right. But processed sugar is going to trigger a dopamine surge in your brain, right? It's, like I said, it's similar to heroin, alcohol, all that shit. That's going to give you like that feeling of pleasure and reward. And you're like, I want more. And you feel good like in the moment. And then your blood sugar goes down later. Like you crash and then you feel like shit because you ate like shit. And obviously, like if you were to smoke like your first time smoking weed, just think about this. The first time you smoke weed, you might hit like, two what the fuck do you get? Two puffs of a blunt, right? And you're high. And then, years later you might be smoking like two fucking blunts. You know what I mean? That was this chick. This is a little bit off topic. But man, this bitch was crazy. But anyways, there was this chick, man. I was just over at her place because she had a fat ass, and that's what got me there, bro. I was like, yeah, she got a fat ass. She's short. She's fit. Let's get in. She's like, oh, do you smoke? And I'm like, yeah, I smoke, I smoke. And I try to use technique number 37 or 38, my bad, which is when you act like you smoke but you don't actually smoke. And she gave me a fat ass blunt. I accidentally inhaled that shit. I was cooked, bro. And we were watching Rick and Morty, bro. I was damn near dead, right? Because my tolerance was low. All right. She smoked a whole fucking fat blunt by herself because she built that up over time. That's how it is when people, they eat 5 Skittles when they're little, and then by the time they're teenager, they're eating a bag of Skittles. You know what I'm saying? And then by the time they're adult, they're eating like fucking, they're just pulling over at a gas station and just getting a bunch of muffins and fucking Hostess shit, or they're going to Walmart and getting oatmeal cream pies. Absolute pause. But yeah, so that's what's going on. Like your reward center built up over time, and you got to realize this shit starts when you're young too. So if you're like 30, then you're 30 years into the game of sugar addiction. So that's a lot. You really got to think about that. Like imagine smoking weed for 30 fucking years. Imagine how much you'll have to smoke to get high. Like that shit is insane. All right. So yeah, like I said earlier with sustainability, there's no point of losing fat if you can't keep that shit off. All right. I don't like when people say, well, keto was successful for me. Then why the fuck aren't you still doing it? Because it's not sustainable. So shut your ass up. All right. Very simple shit. The reason you're yo-yo dieting is because of the junk food. All right. It's literally because you eat the junk food. You lost weight in 4 weeks, and then you're just like I'm so hungry. You're gonna be hungry when you're eating things that lack nutrients, fiber, vitamins, and minerals that your body needs. All right. That's what's gonna happen. Junk food and fast food, even in a deficit, aren't conducive to long-term weight loss, guys. All right, so stop going through fast food lines. Stop eating the junk food and shit. Like, there's really no excuse. The thing is, there's a lot of shit people can't control, and I don't get on anybody about anything except for fitness, right? Because literally, if anyone on earth wanted to be leaner, they can reduce their body fat just by what they do on a daily basis. Everybody, literally. Everyone controls what they eat. That's why when I say like when people see an out of shape person, they judge automatically because they know what you're doing behind closed doors. It doesn't matter what you say. You can say whatever you want to and make all the excuses. Everybody knows, right? Everybody knows. Even if you join like a fat support group or something, if they even have those, everyone in that support group knows they're all lying. They all know they're all lying. They're all like, oh, I'm doing everything I can. Everyone there knows they're all fucking lying and they're binging right after. All right. So yeah, a caloric deficit, in my opinion, would be absolute hell if you're constantly, hungry and then you're eating a little bit of junk to fit in your calories, but then you're still hungry because, it's not filling. Like imagine eating 2 Pop-Tarts for breakfast. That's like 500 calories and it's straight sugar. And then you're going to crash by the middle of the day because there's so much processed sugar, but you're going to be craving more throughout the day as well. Versus if you had like some eggs and ground beef or some shit like that for breakfast, or you have some eggs and some potatoes for breakfast, you'd be straight. All right, so what to focus on? Focus on nutrient density, like I said, quality whole foods, high protein, high fiber, lean meats, veggies, fruits, healthy fats. It's really that simple. Y'all see what I post in the community post when I'm like, here's my day of eating. I don't know why people complicate it more than that. And all these TikTok recipes. Listen, I'm gonna say this again. I don't care what you guys say. I know a lot of lean motherfuckers. Every lean motherfucker I know does not spend time because that's not sustainable. Like I said about sustainability, no one's spending fucking hours and hours in the kitchen doing all these long ass recipes and shit. Like no one does that shit. They do that shit for TikTok and then it is an interesting video. It's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Maybe you could do that once a year, but you're not gonna make like fucking just like this insane protein pasta with this chicken like with everything homemade or whatever. Like no one has time for that shit. So realistically, right, simple foods. Me and my friends we usually eat like simple ass shit like potatoes, rice. Very simple. Potatoes and rice. You eat fucking steak, you eat chicken, eggs, protein shakes, protein bars. It's literally that simple. But people are like, nah, bro, like I just saw this pizza recipe with protein. And all right, go ahead and spend 2 hours making that. All right. Or people are like, I'm craving this, so let me eat. I'm craving pizza, so let me make protein pizza. If you always go by what you're craving, you are not sticking to the plan. You're not working with the system. You're literally just going based on emotions, right? And your emotions go up and down. Your cravings go up and down. Maybe you don't crave anything today, so you're not going to eat. That's not how this shit works. You got to do what you need to do, whether you feel like it or not. That's what discipline is. All right, cheat rules. Cheat day rules, I mean. You gotta know what I'm gonna say about this shit. All right, so most likely, if you're watching this video, you might have spent the last decade eating like shit. Now, I'm being generous, probably 20, 30, 40 years, right? And gaining fat. Your body and your dopamine need to adjust to your new eating habits, all right? So when you change to your new eating habits, don't just stop and be like, oh, I deserve a cheat day because I ate good for 1 week. No, this is your first week eating what you're supposed to and giving your body what it needs, right? And giving your fucking dopamine a break from all that fucking sugar that you're eating and actually working towards reversing your insulin resistance. The worst thing you can do is eat some bullshit. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Anyways, cheat days will only do what the government does, which is hold you back and fuck you. All right, so link is in the description. Meal plan, workout plan, right? One-on-one coaching. Honestly, bro, if I had, like, I'm not even gonna lie, if I had that, like my Greek God workout plan, if I had that shit years ago, instead of wasting all this fucking time, like, learning my own workouts, because I'm in my little brother do that shit too, and he's getting fucking, people think he's on steroids now too. But links are in the description. Lock in and stop lying to yourself, because at the end of the day, only you have heard all the lies that you've told yourself. Period. Stay locked in, fellas.